Hello and welcome to this video. My name is Clara and today I'm going to be talking about what it is really like to be a stay-at-home mom. Is it everything I dreamed it would be, or have I been majorly disappointed? A little bit of a preview, it's got parts of both in it. Okay, so let me just first give you an overview of my personal story, how I became a stay-at-home mom. Obviously, I'm a mom, but let's go a little bit farther back than that. I got my first job when I was 15 and a half, and I worked at a pizza place, and I absolutely loved it. I got a little bit older, got my second job teaching art lessons at a private school. This was while I was in college and hopefully looking to get a husband sometime soon. And it was around that time in my life where I began to become very dissatisfied with just like the way the world worked. I felt like I was selling my life for $12 an hour, and it just wasn't okay with me. Now I do understand that some people are fine with that, and that's great because we need people who are willing to work in like a big corporate area. We need that in order to keep our world moving. But for some people, it's just not right. And I just couldn't get rid of this feeling that like something isn't right here. For me, I could tell that that was not the direction God had for my life. Ever since I was little, I always wanted to get married and have babies and be a stay-at-home mom. And so in May of 2019, I actually quit my job. I quit working for another person, and it was not like a sudden kind of thing. I had been prepping for it, building up for it. I started to offer, I mentioned I was an art teacher. I started to offer private lessons outside of school hours, kind of as my own business. And I think that was the beginning of my self-employment. And I did this for several months while still working at the school. I'd be doing my own stuff part-time. But like I said, by the time May rolled around, I was a couple months away from getting married. I could kind of have a clearer vision of where my life was going, and I just felt comfortable and I felt led by God to quit my job then and to begin just working for myself, being my own boss. And I would love to make a video one day about how I did that, everything that went into it, because I am very passionate and have a lot to say about working for yourself in the things that God has given you ability to do, but that's not for today. And then I got married, and I was like a stay-at-home wife / worked for myself for about the first year and a half of our marriage. I wasn't, clocking 40 hours a week with my own business. It was, I don't know, probably more like 20 to 30 every week, and it was a lot of different things. I was teaching the private art lessons. I was also doing photography part-time, and I also sell artwork on Etsy. I'm still doing those three, but before I had my child, I was doing them a lot more, in addition to trying to figure out how to be a wife and how to be a homemaker. And then in January 2021, I had my baby. And I went on full out maternity leave. I didn't teach any lessons. I didn't take any photos. I didn't do anything except for be a mommy. And oh my goodness, it was great. I really loved it. It was not without its challenges. And I actually have a whole entire video on what that first year of being a mom was like and all the emotional and mental issues I faced. So I'm not saying like it was a cakewalk, but as far as not having to work, that part was really nice. And then once he got a little bit older and I felt more comfortable with taking him places, I did once again begin teaching a few art lessons every week. I do a few photo sessions every month, and I'm still selling the artwork on Etsy. So I'm not unemployed. I am still working for myself, but I would primarily classify myself as a stay-at-home mom. And let me tell you, in many ways, it is everything I dreamed it would be. It is wonderful to be able to wake up and to know that my job now is to take care of my baby, take care of my husband, and to take care of our home. It is such a breath of fresh air to not have to work for somebody else. Because when you're working for somebody else, they own your time. And I found personally that, when I was working 40 hours a week for a boss, I would come home and I would still have my same responsibilities, like dishes and laundry and ordering groceries. I would have my own passions and hobbies and interests. But by the time I got home, I had no more energy left and I had very little time left for those things. And to be a stay-at-home mom now and to be able to invest my time doing the things that I feel like God has called me to do, it is so amazing. And I really do love being a stay-at-home mom. I'm not going to sit here telling you that it's awful, because it's really not. It is wonderful. I love the fact that I don't really have a boss anymore other than God. Okay, I understand that. But, there's not anybody coming up behind me telling me what to do. I get to be creative in how I assess what needs to get done. I look around at my house, my domain, and I decide what needs to get done, how I'm going to do it, that was my chair. That sounded like suspicious. It was just my chair. I get to decide, how these things are going to get done. I get to exercise a lot of creativity and a lot of freedom in this. And it really is great. And I can't talk enough about how much I love being able to invest in myself. I'm not talking self-care. I'm not talking about spend all day painting my nails. I'm talking about I love having houseplants. And I would have never been able to keep my houseplants back, 3 years ago, 4 years ago when I was working for somebody else. But now that I am home and doing a completely different kind of work, I can spend time doing things I enjoy. And I think that is very valuable. I feel like I'm in America. I don't know where you're watching from. If you're foreign and international, well then welcome. But, especially in the American culture, there is a certain false glamour associated with being a workaholic, with busting your butt, with working as hard as you can, working these long hours, making the money, not having time for anything else. That's garbage, okay? It really is, because I am a strong believer that God created us to be multifaceted people. I am not just a mom. There's so much more to me. And now that I am a stay-at-home mom, I have time to explore those parts of myself and my identity, and the passions and the interests that God gave me are no longer put on the back burner. I have the freedom to explore those things, and it's so great. I get to set my own schedule. I get to go at my own pace. And who is not going to love spending all day with your baby? It is fantastic. But I'm sure everything I just said is not news to you. If you are not a stay-at-home mom, you're watching this trying to get something new out of it. I'm sure you know all of that, all of the good stuff, all of the glam. But I'm here today now to tell you that there is actually a lot more to being a stay-at-home mom that I never expected. There are so many things that I miss about working. And my goal for this video, might as well go ahead and tell you where we're going now that we're, several minutes in. I hope to maybe help you to understand that the grass is not greener on the other side. The grass is greener where you are, as long as you're in the center of God's will. And I'm sorry that I can't really elaborate on finding God's will right now. I do intend to make that in a future video. But I definitely had some misconceptions about being a stay-at-home mom. So I know that many out there have these same illusions. I definitely thought that it was just, chill and fun and wake up and do whatever you want and life is easy. And that's not the case. I'm here to tell you that. And I want to talk about some things that I actually miss about being an employee for somebody, because I never really thought I would miss it at all, but there are certain parts that I miss. I miss being able to get dressed every day and get out of the house. wow. And I know you might be hearing me say that and be like, seriously? That's something like, perhaps you've never even thought about that as a blessing, as something to be envied, but it really is. When you are a stay-at-home mom of a young child, yeah, I could definitely get dressed every day if I felt like it. I could do my makeup like this every day, but it's just, it doesn't happen, right? It is a little bit unattainable. And getting out of the house every day, it's just, the younger the child, the harder that is. I'm looking forward to when my son can actually walk, so that maybe we can go to parks and stuff like that, because right now I either hold him or put him in a stroller, and it's not as fun, and I really am stuck at home a lot during the day, during the week, and I miss being able, almost being forced to get out of the house and get dressed. I miss having work friendships, because they were just different than your regular friendship. Having work friends was just something that was so fun, and I miss having those short-term accomplishments. You have something on your to-do list, you do it in that day, and then it is done. That's not the case for me anymore. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Definitely miss the income. I miss feeling like I was contributing something to my family. I miss having the financial freedom that we used to have. I can no longer just be like, hey, I'm going to go to Target and just buy kind of like whatever I want with hardly any consequence. I mean, we were never living in luxury, but there was a point in time where we weren't really pinching pennies the way that we are now. And I do miss the feeling of like, I have contributed this money. Here's this money. I have done this, and having like a tangible result, like a tangible reward for your efforts. Because I want to make sure I go ahead and say this. Becoming a stay-at-home mom does not mean that you stop working. It's that you are working an entirely different kind of thing now. Because it's truly work. It's just like you have to rewire what you think of work. And I don't get paid for what I do anymore now. I can spend 40 hours a week washing the dishes, doing the laundry, taking care of the baby, but I never see a penny for any of that. Although it is some of the hardest work I've ever done. And I do miss being able to make the money. I definitely miss the fast-paced environment of having a job, of being busy, of like the way the time would just fly by. Like you clock in, and I remember like it wasn't every day, okay? Some days were really slow and lame and boring, but generally, where my very first job was at a pizza place, and those shifts went by so fast because we were usually so busy. And as soon as you finish one thing, here's another thing to do. And, there were mental challenges that I don't have anymore. Sometimes I feel like I can feel my brain turning into mush, because although I am doing things during the day, nothing is really stimulating or engaging my mind. Nothing is really challenging my brain the way that it used to be challenged. The different things that you need to figure out and problem solve that, I don't have that anymore, so the days go by very slow and they're often very uneventful. And that was a hard adjustment, and it still is. I miss having the accountability that you have when you are working for a boss. And I understand that might not really sound like a glamorous thing, but it really is challenging when you move into being a stay-at-home mom and there's nobody coming up behind you, kind of encouraging you to keep moving, kind of helping you keep track of what needs to get done. There's also no praise or accommodation. I mean, my husband does come home often and say, hey, the house looks great. And I love that. And I just soak it in because I need it, because I'm really not getting it anymore. I mean, there are no like bonuses. There is no like employee of the month. There's, it's a totally different kind of environment. This one that I miss, and I'm looking to the side because I have notes here, clocking out. Like, hey, it's 9:00. I'm done. I'm clocking out. And I don't care if another order comes in because I'm gone. Just kind of that satisfaction of being like, the work is done. Because as a stay-at-home mom, the work is not done. It's never done. Like, even if I may finish washing the dishes from lunch, guess what? Dinner's coming. There's going to be more dishes to wash. And even at the end of the day, when I feel like I have checked everything off of my list, and I think I'm done with everything, I'm really not done, because the same tasks are going to be waiting for me the next day. And you can't really clock out of being a stay-at-home mom. I guess if I were to go on vacation with my husband and leave our child with somebody else, that would technically be clocking out. But, it's pretty much, it's not like I'm working 40 hours a week. I work 24/7 now. Granted, it's a different kind of work, and it's a beautiful kind of work, but there's no more clocking out. There's also a different kind of job security that you have when you're working for somebody. Now, I'm not saying that my husband is going to fire and replace me. What I'm saying is, I've mentioned that I do several little part-time things where I'm my own boss. I do the art lessons, I do photography, and I sell artwork on Etsy. But it's really up to me how much I'm going to work and how much money I'm going to make. And that can be very hard, because there are days where things just are not growing. And there can be times where I'm like, I would really like to be making more money right now, but I've done everything I can do. Whereas, when you're working for an employer, and this depends on the kind of work, it depends on how high up you are in the food chain. But like when I worked at the pizza place as a teenager and I clocked in, it didn't matter how slow of a day it was. It didn't matter how many orders were placed. It didn't matter how much money the pizza place made. I was still going to get my hourly wage because I was there and I worked. And this is a lot different, because now if I am going to make money on the side, that is all me. And it can be very hard. It's quite a challenge, and it's even hard to turn that off sometimes, because there are times where I would love to just shut off that part of my brain and maybe just relax for an evening. But if I know that we have a financial need, and my husband's income is not flexible, it is this number and it will always be this number unless he gets a raise or something. If there's something I want to buy, like a new eyeshadow palette that costs $25, now I got to figure out how to make $25 to be able to afford that. And, sometimes that can be very hard. So the job security that I used to have of knowing that I'm going to get a paycheck no matter what is lost. It's lost now. And so I do miss those things about going to work. There are some hard parts of being a stay-at-home mom that I was not expecting. Some of the hardest challenges about being a homemaker, and I should have said earlier, this applies to being a woman who just stays home, whether or not you're a mom, okay? Some of these have nothing to do with having a kid. The hardest challenges about being a homemaker that someone who goes to work doesn't have to face daily. Okay, here we go. There's the monotony of cleaning the same messes every day. I did speak about this a little bit. Even if you finish dishes, there's always more dishes. There's always more laundry. There's always more messes to be vacuumed up. Like, you're not done. And it's really the same thing over and over again. I also personally struggle with losing sight of the big picture. So what is the big picture? For me, the big picture is this: God created me. He has me here. He has a plan for my life. But when all you do every single day is literally just chores, you start to wonder, is this it? Is this all that my life is going to be? Am I ever going to make a difference or have an impact? Am I ever going to do anything that's worth mentioning? Because washing the dishes is not really important work, and there's no glamorizing that. It's something that needs to be done, yeah. But at the end of my life, who's going to write an epitaph? She was the best dishwasher and the world was blessed by that. Nobody. And so often I personally struggle with losing sight of that big picture, feeling very small, feeling very insignificant, feeling very purposeless. and questioning, why am I even here? And what am I even doing? Another one that's hard is that I have no one to talk to. And being a stay-at-home mom is so incredibly lonely. I mean, honestly, when you're not a stay-at-home mom and when you think about becoming one, you think about having like play dates, having your mommy friends, going to the park. At least at this point in my life, that has not been the case. I still have a young child. There are sleep schedules to consider. My other mom friends have their own kids on their own schedules. And so I'm really home alone with my baby all day, every day. And he can't talk yet. So I'm just talking to him and he can't talk back. Or maybe I'll call my husband 100 times, or maybe I'll sit in front of a camera and record a video. And this is literally the most I've talked today because I don't have anybody to talk to. I can text my friends who are at work, but it might be hours before they respond. I can send a Marco Polo video to some friends, but they might not ever respond. And it is very hard to be lonely like that. I have often given the example that it feels like I am in solitary confinement and that I'm losing my mind a little bit. And it is a struggle that I never really thought about before becoming a stay-at-home mom. The other thing that I've kind of mentioned a little bit is how slowly time passes, which in some ways it can be a good thing. Like sometimes it's nice to have a whole afternoon and it to just move slowly. But when you are lonely as a stay-at-home mom, when you have no one to talk to except for your husband who's going to be home at 5:30, and you're constantly checking the time, you can't wait for him to come home, and the afternoon, the day, it just goes by so slowly. And the other thing is that I'm often tempted, and I'm sure every mom is, tempted by that couch over there that's calling me, and the Netflix that's calling me, and the temptation to be lazy and unproductive is very, very strong. And I've mentioned that, as a stay-at-home mom, it's not that you've stopped working. It's just an entirely different work. And if I neglect my responsibilities to meal plan and order the groceries, and instead I just veg out and watch TV, what are we going to eat? And so it's tempting to slack off and do nothing, but you can't allow yourself to do that. And it definitely takes a lot of self-discipline. And it definitely takes a lot of initiative if you do find yourself on the couch to get up and get back to work. And in that, there's this daily struggle to motivate yourself. Because when you are working for a boss and you have coworkers and you have that community that's kind of depending on you to do your job, and I feel like it's almost a little bit easier to be motivated. But when you're home alone by yourself, nobody to talk to, nobody's encouraging you, nobody's giving you a pat on the back, nobody's reminding you about this. It's all you to motivate yourself. And sometimes self-motivation is very hard, but nobody else is going to make me do this. I need to make myself do this work. There's also no accountability. And I know I just mentioned that as one of the great things I love about being a stay-at-home mom, but it is hard. There is no accountability. There is nobody saying, hey, did you remember to do this? Or, great job with that. Thank you so much. There is none of that. Nobody's checking up after you. Nobody's telling you good job. And nobody's there to help you. When you are in a work environment and you have coworkers and you feel like there's too much on your plate, if you have those work friends that I mentioned, they'll probably help. But when you're a stay-at-home mom and the only other person in the house during the day is a 1-year-old who can't even walk yet, there is nobody to help you do what needs to get done, and it's hard. And then the other one is, I've already mentioned it, that tasks are never finished and there's always more to be done. Just imagine this for me. Even if I finish cleaning the whole house and everything is clean, I have even scrubbed the baseboards, guess what? It's not done because now I could organize something, or declutter something or take a box to the thrift shop and donate some things. Like there's always more to be done. And in these ways, like I never expected these challenges of being a stay-at-home mom. I know that there are more. These are the ones that I've just thought of. And so what's the point though? Why have I just sat here and told you all of this and crushed your dreams and hopes about being a stay-at-home mom? It's because of this. Comparison is the thief of joy. That's not original to me. You've heard it before. Back when I was not a stay-at-home mom, I thought that it was going to be so great. And it is. Like, it is. I'm never going back. And now that I am a stay-at-home mom, I almost envy my friends who get to go to work every day. And possibly you are someone who goes to work every day and you're watching this video and for the first time realizing, wow, there's actually a lot more of a challenge associated with being a stay-at-home mom than I thought. And what I'm trying to say here is like, step one, don't compare yourself to others because nobody has it easy. I wrote down here, the grass is not greener on the other side because everybody has challenges. But at the same time, and here's my other thing that's important to me, at the same time, you are blessed right where you are. And the Lord, only the Lord, can give you satisfaction and fulfillment in your everyday life. If you're not a stay-at-home mom, and this whole time you have been thinking that once you finally become one, then you'll be happy, then life will be good, I'm here to tell you that that's not true. Because just being a stay-at-home mom is not what is going to give me satisfaction and fulfillment. And I can attest that even though I struggle with being a stay-at-home mom sometimes, and sometimes I wish I could just go out and live my life like I used to as a teenager, that wouldn't make me happy either. That wouldn't satisfy me either. Because only the Lord can bring that satisfaction and that fulfillment. There's so much to consider here. I think the biggest point is that you need to recognize where God has you and the season that you're in, right? Because back with me, when I was I think I was in my 20s at this point, and I was just very disillusioned with working, and I knew that it wasn't right for me. I knew I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom eventually, but I wasn't even married yet, you know? So it's okay to desire a different lifestyle, but you need to recognize that that is going to come in God's timing and in God's way, and that for now, you can be blessed and truly satisfied where you are because it's the Lord who brings that satisfaction. I wrote down 4 hows. How can you get that satisfaction and fulfillment in your everyday life, no matter where you find yourself, whether you are at work, whether you are at home? I don't know where else you could be if you're not at work or at home. The first one, though, seriously, is that personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And perhaps you clicked on this video and you had no idea I was going here, but hang in because this is important to me. I am a Christian. I have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ, and so does my target audience. Maybe you do too. And it's having that relationship with Him, knowing Him personally, talking to Him, reading His Word. That's what's the foundation for having that fulfillment and satisfaction in life. Because let's get theological for a second. Why was mankind created? If you follow the Genesis account, whether you believe it or not, if God created man, why did He do it? The reason the Bible gives us is because He wanted to be able to have a relationship with them. He wanted the friendship. He wanted the communion. And so no matter where you are in life, if you are not having that relationship with your Creator, that's a huge chunk that is missing. And without that, you are never going to feel totally and fully satisfied. And then the next one, after you have this relationship with the Lord, to find and live in the center of His will is the next vital step to having this satisfaction, to having peace with where you are. And I wish I could get into that right now. I mentioned at the beginning that hopefully this will be another video in the future. How do you find God's will? How do you know now, okay, God made me, I've got my relationship with Him. where am I supposed to be, and knowing and figuring out where you're supposed to be is that facet. Because although, like I said, it's not glamorous to do dishes every day, it is where God has me. And when I remind myself that for now and for this season and for this time in my life, this is what he wants me to be doing, it changes everything. It changes my perspective, it changes my outlook, and it gets me one step closer to having that fulfillment. And then there's got to be a daily submission to the Holy Spirit. I mean, if you are a Christian, if you are someone who can say that you are saved, you do have a relationship with the Lord, then you also have his Spirit living inside you. And when you submit to that Spirit, when you follow the direction and the leading of the Lord, it just brings so much peace and so much belonging to who you are as a person. Like, I really can't explain it. It's something that you know what I'm talking about. Either you do or you don't, right? But just the submission to the Holy Spirit, and then finally, to be able to glorify God with your life. And I don't know how washing dishes brings glory to God. I don't. I mean, there's no verse in the Bible that says, blessed are you who wash the dishes. There's not. But just knowing that, bam, God created me. I have a relationship with him. I'm where he wants me to be. And so when I do what he has called me to do, be it washing dishes or not, that does glorify him. That points others to who he is, to his goodness, to his sovereignty, to his love and his grace. It just does, right? It just, and I don't have all the answers as to why. I don't know if we'll ever be able to understand how we as people can actually attribute glory to God just by living our lives, but we do. And so that's all I have prepared to say for you today. I hope that this video wasn't as scattered as it sounded like, but I hope to shed some light on what it's really like to be a stay-at-home mom. It is better than I ever imagined. I hope I never have to go back. However, it is not a cakewalk. It is not easy. And if you have a stay-at-home mom friend and this whole time you have been thinking that she is living the life, maybe now you have a different kind of understanding for the challenges that she faces every day. And maybe you even have a greater appreciation for where you are in life, even if you think that it is nowhere near what you wanted. The grass isn't greener. We just need to find the satisfaction and fulfillment where we are. So if you found this video to be helpful, I would super appreciate it if you would share this with somebody else. That is why I'm sitting here at my dining room table during my kids' nap time talking about this, is because I hope that maybe it will just help somebody. Maybe it will help you make the decision whether being a stay-at-home mom is right for you. Maybe it will help you to encourage a stay-at-home mom who is feeling a little bit down. I just hope that this has been a help. I hope that the Lord has been able to use this. And if it has been, please leave a like. Please leave a comment sharing your thoughts. I'd also really love to hear from you. What are some topics that you'd like to hear me talk about? Because I really want to make sure that whatever I'm sharing is relevant to you. And if you have a question, be it a Bible question, a Christianity question, a question about being a stay-at-home mom, anything, suggestions or topics, leave that below. Also, I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe. As of this recording, my channel's pretty new. I think I have like 30 subscribers, but my mission and my aim is to reach more like-minded women offering help and encouragement. So if you subscribe to me, you will help me reach that goal. And that's all I have for you today. So I will see you in my next video. And until then, bye-bye.